Hello, everyone. We had a little bit of difficulty earlier.
Hello, everyone. We had a little bit of difficulty earlier. Hello, everyone. We had a little bit of difficulty earlier. Hello, everyone. We had a little bit of difficulty earlier. Hello, everyone.
Wow, sorry about that. Sounded horrible. Sorry if I blew your ears out. Okay, so this is Christine from the Ears Habit, which is a tiny little division of KC Dragonfly. And I got an order for a multi-pierced earring set, which is one of our older designs. And it's quite funny with this one. I take it on and off because as times change and fashions go in and out of style, I guess, uh, it has sales, it doesn't, it has sales. So it's something that was requested by a wonderful gal who's been a returning customer from the United Kingdom. And Allison, if that's you out there, say hi. Our chat window is open on the right hand side of the screen. You have the option to chat. So right now I'm just pulling out all of the pieces for this design. And if there's background noise, I apologize. It's the air conditioning. It's 101 out, which is why I'm hiding inside today. So right now I'm going to count how many pieces I need, how many dagger beads for the seaweed effect. And I don't see I have a pen here. Okay, so I'm just going to point it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's about 7 of the larger daggers, and these are gorgeous daggers. They're iridescent. Well, they have kind of a transparent see-through look. You can kind of tell there in the video. And I years ago when I bought these, I went absolutely nuts, and I bought every color in the rainbow. And this is their average size. They have smaller ones, which are also in this set. And there's about 3, it looks like about 3 of the smaller ones. And this is a tough design. It's a little complicated. It has a lot of pieces. It's got 4 separate pieces that you can see right here. And the thing about these daggers is they're drilled sideways. Now, if I can find a pen here, or maybe I will just point. Oh, I know. I can take a piece of wire here. This is the wire we're going to be wire wrapping with. And see, let's see if I can get that right there. They're cut, the hole is cut sideways instead of straight through, which is more traditional. And I broke a few of these when I first started. It was a learning process, and it's glass, so you do have to be careful as to breaking them. And the amount of force and pressure you use when you wire wrap, you have to just you get a feel for it after a while, and you just have to be very gentle with it. So let me go ahead. By the way, I'm here talking away to myself, and I don't even know if everyone can hear me. I had to turn off my sound, and I don't know if it's working. So I'm going to put something in the chat here in case you can't hear me. And just put the question out there and ask, can anybody hear me? So I'm going to look over, make sure I've got my pieces. Oh, there's a little copper ball. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like there's about 5 of them. Oh, and I forgot the most important part of this is the chain. So I'm going to be getting up in a minute and grabbing some of that to use. There we go. Get all my parts out of here. Now I have an already wrapped freshwater pearl from the first time I did this. Actually, Mal, you can't see that too well. I'm going to try and pull this up to the screen so you can see it better. There we go. Now this is wire wrapped, and that's the pearl, and there's 2 seed beads on either end. And that, I didn't remember exactly what color. It looks like it's this color. And I had 3 different shades here of greens. There's like kind of a lime green. That's what this one is. There's more of I guess this is what you call a Kelly green, kind of your St. Patrick's Day green. And then this one is a darker green. This one is the one I'm going to be using. I wasn't sure, so I got all 3 of them out. And the shades really do make a difference. They are quite they add quite a difference to the effect that you can get when you put something like this together. So let's see here. I can make all of these pieces without having the chain for now. And I'm even going to need a little bit of practice here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start wrapping my pieces. And we're going to cut off a section of wire here. This is what's known as a 24 gauge wire. It's too fragile to use for actually hanging anything because it's very flexible, and it's too flexible and it will bend under weight. But these pearls are so light, we're going to have no problem just using them as decor and hanging the dagger beads off of them. So let's go ahead in here, and I'm going to take a look at how this is done to refresh my memory. And okay. So I think I've got this now. So what I'm going to do is thread it through the hole right there. Through there. And you can see how thin these dagger beads are. Actually, I was really hoping it would focus. Some of this it does autofocus, but sometimes it has some problems with that. So I just cross my fingers that you can actually see what I'm doing here. And when it's threaded through, then it comes up to, I'm going to wrap it by hand. Some of this I do by hand. It's too difficult to get pliers in here, and I can actually, I've got to have enough strength in my hands after doing this for quite a while that I can bend. This isn't very hard to bend, though. This one's not that much of a problem. So I cross the wires here, and let's see. I'm going to hold it and make a twist a couple times. Actually, that doesn't look correct. Let me double check this. Oh, I think it's wire wrapped around it. So at this point, I'm going to hold it with my thumb right there and find a fine pair of pliers. And I'm going to go around, and I'm going to do a nice little swirl with the wire. And I like to do three turns. And that's kind of more kind of in honor of the goddess, if anything. If there was a secret reason for this, it would be that. Okay, and so I cut that end off and bent this. So now we have it hanging here. And this is where it gets complicated, because I am going to thread one of these beads through here so that it hangs on like that. And boy, I wish I had a blow up of this, and I don't, because this really has been a while. And I'm going to take off my glasses so I can see better what I'm doing. I'm going to push this edge down where I cut the wire. It's always good to push that down so it doesn't catch on anything or scratch or irritate anybody. Now, See, it's been a long time since I've done this. So I'm going to bend it like so. And what I want to ultimately achieve here is a curve. Oh, I think I remember here. Okay. I'm going to hold on to this and curve it around to get that first curve. And it's okay if it actually twists off kilter here because I can twist that back once I'm done. And then bring it back up around. And then I'm going to actually make kind of a hook like that. Now I realize it's a little goofy looking here. This is easily fixed. I'm going to hand twist it. So it's like that. Now this is a little different from how I think it was originally done. Oh, I think I remember how that was done. Okay. Well, we'll see how this works. And here we go. So that's how the initial bead looks. It's all framed in this beautiful green. I think it's called chartreuse, and I don't know a lot of people that like this green, but I really, really love this color. For certain projects, I would not recommend it on a car or a house, and I've seen it on both, and oh man, does it look like scary. Can't imagine how ugly some color is. It should really only be relegated to accents and plants until you actually see it driving by you on the road. It's pretty horrific. So, okay. Now, the tricky thing with wire, especially something this thin, is it cannot be manipulated too much, because if you do manipulate it too much, it will break. So if this breaks, that's okay, because I'm just getting practice here and getting my my skill back in doing this. I've done a few of these. This design has sold about 3 times before. Now, the other thing that's important about having this thin a wire is freshwater pearls are extremely, especially ones these size, have tiny, tiny, tiny holes. I don't know if you can see this. For some reason, my camera is not autofocusing very well, but this wire fits through just right. And if this wire was a micron, well, not a micron, but you know, a fraction thicker, this would not work. So we do have to work in something very tiny like this. Now at this point, this is easy because all I have to do, oh wow, that one's really tarnished. We're not going to use that one. We are going to just loop and fit the wire right through this finding here. So, and let's see here. So that faces head on when your post is on. So I want to make this loop even here. I don't want to make it like this. I'm going to make it like this. And we have a special cutter for that. Well, special holder. This is a round pair of needle nose pliers. They do not have cutting edge. So I'm going to bring that wire around. Now before I close it, I have to loop it into the post. Just like that. because this is a closed post, there is not an opening here. It's one solid welded piece or pressed piece. I don't think they weld these. The copper is a tougher metal to work with than some. And you can actually see this good in profile here, at least I can, of how we're going to wire wrap this. Now, some of this wire wrapping I do by hand, and it gives it actually a better finish than doing it with pliers. But in this case, this is kind of tiny. And there we go. That is our first piece. Okay, now that, if you can see on here, is this first one here. I have a couple others that are a little trickier, and then when I get to this big one here, I am going to need that chain. But I want to practice with doing a couple more of these daggers here, because I think I just remembered how I did the wire wrapping on that. And you see, you don't need very much of this wire at all for this. And I was so excited. I went to the Pasadena Bead and Design Show, and there was this company called Margola back in New Jersey, and they had every color of the rainbow. And at the time I got this wire, I was like, oh my God, which thickness do I get? Because the smaller the number, the more delicate the wire is and the thinner it is. So typically I wrap in 22 gauge. 20 is too thick, and 18 is actually really thick. It's depending on if it's brass, then it's almost too hard to bend by hand. 22, I could break it with my fingernail. So I never work in that. And I want to go with something that's going to be the sturdiest and take into consideration, is there going to be any stress on this particular piece? Because if it's just for something hanging and dangling, like this dangles, well, there's really no weight on there except for the dagger and the copper bead, these ones, and the freshwater pearls. Now, this one, I put the dagger in the middle of this piece because I thought I remembered it comes up both sides, and I didn't do that with the other. First one, I wrapped it one side to another. This one, I'm going to wrap like this. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to do it a little closer to the dagger. This was also a problem when I used a thicker wire, because at that point, if I moved it, it snapped the bead. It broke through this piece here. And it didn't happen too often. It really only happened maybe 4 times in the same sitting before I realized, okay, I have to really readjust my pressure. And I kept readjusting it, how much pressure I applied, and then eventually I got it. And I didn't snap anymore, knock on wood, since then. So there we go. Now, to remember from here, I think I loaded the bead onto one of these arms. And from there, I wrapped, yes, I think I remember this now. I wrapped the wire around like this. And it has to kind of rest in that loop that I made with that wire. I really hope you can see this. Because this, I was just playing with this design when I first created it. And I went, wow, you know, this would be really cool Oh, this is turning out the same way as the other one. I didn't wrap the other side down. I can't, because then there would be nothing to string the pearl on. Okay, so my bad there. But I am going to wrap this down. So now this becomes the piece I'm going to put the pearl on. And then this. And you can see how soft this wire is. Just by the virtue of that, I can bend it with my bare fingers. Yeah, there really is nothing to hold to on that. And I'm going to have to hold it this way and turn it sideways while I do this. Otherwise, it's going to get away from me. And this is slow at first, admittedly, but it gets faster, as with anything. Gotta be careful I don't pinch that dagger or it goes bye-bye. Now these come in a hank, these dagger beads right here. So if I break one, it's not the end-all be-all, but I do have to start over. And I've got to make sure I clean up all the glass fragments because they are sharp. And it's not tempered glass, but, well, it is tempered in a way, I guess, because these are fused. So there we go. And I don't like ends hanging in the front where you can see them. So I try to bend them to the back, just hide them in the back. And I've gotten to the point now, I don't wear goggles, which one day it may bite me in the ass that I don't, but for now, it's all these years I've been doing this, I have not needed them because I instinctively close my eyes when I pinch off something, when I cut something. It's just instinct. I just automatically do it. So I'm always just super, super careful about that. Now this is kind of small, but I think I'll be able to wire wrap it. Okay. Oh, this post actually does have a way to open it up. That's good. The other one did not. Oh yeah, this is probably too small because just, and let me get my seed bead on here. And this wire, you have to make it really straight because the hole again is so small that even that little bend gave it a problem. And wow, yeah, I think this is probably maybe not enough wire here. No, it's not enough wire. See that one? Going to chalk that up to experience. that was not enough. So I'm going to have to do that one again. I'll leave it there for now. And we'll pull out a little more wire than I had before. See, I can actually do this quicker when I'm not talking. So I'm just going to go with this. And stop yapping here for a minute. Okay, yeah, it's going to be plenty now. The wire. Now I'm going to bend this little bit back so it doesn't scratch anybody. There we go. Now, where's my good one here? I'm going to use it as a template. Okay, that one was giving me a little trouble. It was slipping down the wire there, but I got that straight. Okay, I will be back in a second. I have to find a copper link, which I didn't get before. So be back in one second. Okay. Now, okay. Okay, that piece is held by copper. I'm going to go grab some of my copper wire. Okay. This is copper wire. And don't let the price fool you on here. $4.70. That was years ago, folks. This is 20 gauge. I'm going to show you the difference. This is 24 gauge. I'm trying to look at the video here. Move this, see if you can see. And this is 20 gauge. So this is quite a bit thicker. In fact, I think I got this stuff. Oh yeah, this was a completely different source. Who shall remain nameless because they're still in business. I won't give anybody ideas out there. This is a bit tougher. Okay, and I'm going to use this through this bead. Now this is a move I do a lot. Make a hook. Whoa, okay. Did not mean to make it that bad. Okay, that just ruined that piece. Here, let's do another one. Sometimes it's tough to go from one gauge to another. You get too heavy-handed if you go and use something delicate after using a heavy gauge, and then the opposite happens when you do it the other way. So, in fact, I'm going to take my round-nosed pliers and use these to make that first loop. Okay, I don't like that either. This is getting my physical memory back on this. I haven't worked in this gauge in a long time. And fortunately, I have a full spool. Okay. There we go. That's better. Now, there we go. Okay, now you got to be careful and not apply too much pressure with the pliers or it starts to show and it dents your wire and it doesn't look smooth. Now this is going to go on here like this. Okay, this is actually too thick and bulky. I'm looking at this and I don't like it. I'm going to go and look for another copper because that's too thick. At least 22 is better. Okay, this gauge is 22 gauge, so it's a tiny bit thicker than this. So we're putting this stuff away. You're going away. Bye. Don't want that. And thank you, whoever is out there with us. I wish you'd tell us your name. That would be nice to know who's stuck with us for the past 39 minutes. I'm going to guess this is probably Allison, and this is her order. So if you can hear me, hi, Allison. If that's you, it's not, I apologize. Tell me your name and I'll be happy to use it. Okay, I'm going to gather my little pieces up here. Nobody wants to walk on those. Those are painful. And you could get blood poisoning, and I'm not in the mood for that right now. Okay. Okay. I'll show you how I wire wrap this. I put it against my index finger. I use that as a brace while I'm doing this. And I stop the wrapping level with the edge there. And that's about a good point where I can very gently bend this. And then cut it. And I get a nice loop. I'm going to straighten this tail out. See, this is a lot more delicate looking, and I like that. That's perfect. So I'm going to do this other piece here, the other loop. And I'm going to do it, I'm going to put my finger so that it comes right about, not flush with this bead, but a little bit further up. So I have something to wire wrap with. And when you have a long enough tail, you can just sit there and do this for a quick wrap. And that really helps speed this up. Okay. So now I have my wrapped bead. I straighten it out so those two loops are on one plane instead of being twisted. Now, that was necessary because we want the design to lay evenly. Otherwise, it's going to be crooked. And I had to wrap them first in a loop so that I could thread this through. Okay. Now, I'm going to give this another gentle tug to line it properly. And line this up. Now, whoa, that bead is so small and that loop is so big it actually goes through. This causes problems sometimes. So I'm going to have to take it out, re-thread this bead, seed bead, and do this. Now, you would think that I would wrap it so the loop goes like this. But if I do that, it's going to turn sideways and you wouldn't see it. So one of the things I learned is, depending on where this loop goes, how it's connected on the other end, is that dictates how it's going to orient. So at this point, I'm going to take one of my copper posts and open it up. Just enough. I can get that in there. And then I'm going to close this back up. There we go. So here's something that looks like this right now. Now, okay. So this, I'm threading this in here to test it and see exactly which direction I'm going to loop this end wire. Now, okay, normally it's going to run like that. So I need to do this sideways. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. So I'm going to start the loop. I pull that loop so it doesn't close because I have to thread it through here. Believe me, I've done it a couple of times where I didn't get that quite right. And I closed it and went, oh, I should not have closed that loop. Duh. So, ding dong. Okay. Doing this by hand is a breeze. I never need cutter. I never need pliers. If I did, there would be something wrong with that wire because it's so fragile. Well, not fragile. It's so thin. Okay. Now, I'm going to clean this up. Now, here we go. This does not look the way I want it to. So we need to bend this back. And I actually need to reopen that loop here. And this is another thing you can't do too many times. If you do it more than twice, the loop is going to break. And then you got a problem. You've got a post you can no longer use. Yeah. So let's be careful with that. There we go. All right. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now this one is not done yet. It has another piece. So I'm going to move this stuff here. I'll break this one down at this point because I could use the pearl and the seed beads. That was good practice. Very good practice. There we go. I got to be careful cutting this along the dagger. It has to be a straight cut or it won't go back through the dagger. And I can't put pressure on the dagger to bend it. Okay, so that came out intact. All right. Okay, so this other one we're going to put hanging off of here. And this one took a while to figure out when I originally did it. It was one of those tricky things. So I'm going to move out a little more wire here. Okay. That might actually be too short. Might be. I'm going to put it a little more over. Because this is the piece I'm going to wrap around. I'll try and hang on to it there. I don't have much to hang on to. But with these tiny pliers, I can do it. Tiny frigging pliers. I cut my nails the other day, and everything I do, I need short nails for. I have all my life. I used to play piano, and I had short nails, and I type on the computer a lot because I program website designs, website pages, and I needed short nails for those, but I found I need a little bit of an edge of a fingernail here to give me some leverage to pull off some of these maneuvers. So it's a balance, folks, like everything else. Okay, let's get this bead back on here. And the pearl. Yeah, this pearl, that's kind of funny. It's got like, it looks like a big, I don't know, it's kind of fat on one side and pointy on the other. I don't like that. I'm going to get another pearl here that's more even. A little more rough. And not so perfect. This one's a little too perfect. This one's, you like that little bit of rough design to it. Natural look. Au natural. There we go. Okay, let's get another seed on here. Wow, this is going to be an hour video, and that's crazy. But, oh, you know what? I did something really silly. Ha! I didn't put the bubble on yet. Okay. Or the float. Now, I live in California, and up in the coast in Northern California where I was born, there's seaweed. There's huge seaweed. It's the biggest seaweed in the world off the Monterey Bay. And they have a bubble at the top about that big. And that's what these represent, is that bubble. They're not green, but I wanted contrast in here, and I wanted the copper to tie in because copper is a color of the moon, which is always tied into the ocean because of the tides and the ocean tides. So let's see here. Oh, let's see. The pearl comes, the bubble, copper bead comes first. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to use that fingernail and bend this. And then I'm going to hold it with my thumb again as I wrap this around. Yeah, I found this out completely by mistake one time, and I love the design so much. I was like, wow, I got to do this like all the time. Okay. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to put this one through here like that. And it's going to hang down and give a nice draping effect. So I'm going to wrap this one sideways. Instead of doing it this way, I'm going to do it this way. Now before I can complete that, I got to thread this again. I have to make sure I thread it the right way. Otherwise, you won't be able to see the bubble effect right there. And I can see it. Later I'll twist it after I get this wire wrapped on here. There we go. Ooh, a little closer. Gotta be careful too. If you push too hard, you shatter the seed bead. And that's obnoxious because then you have to go in and do it again. So, okay, now this isn't exactly where I want it. So I'm going to twist this. Let's see. You also have to make sure that it drapes nicely. And that's something that's tricky with these daggers. They don't like to drape if the wire is too tight or at the wrong angle. And this took a couple of tries, but I knew if I could do it, I'd have something really cool on my hands. So there we go. Here's the second of the 4 parts. Now, this video has gone an hour, and I am going to edit it and post once I'm done. And I think that's enough of a primer. You can get an idea of what we do. And I have a couple of other gorgeous super secret bits here that I do for the shell. I put a pearl on the inside, and that has a wrap around it. And the other long one here, I use the same technique and go along the chain here. But I'm not going to show you that. This is enough. It's been an hour. Thank you so much for viewing my little video here. And I am going to put up the link to the Etsy there, and to this, because I actually sold out of it. I'm going to activate it and make it live again. And I'm going to do that right now. And then I'm going to put that link up in the comments. And here we go. We're going to renew. It's now up. And I'm going to put that link in the chat as soon as I find it. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm going to go right over here. It's going in the chat. I will put it in the notes. Thank you so much for being with me. And you can now purchase this in the Etsy store. Thank you, and I hope you visit us in the future. Take care.